If you're a business owner and you have a retirement plan and you are retirement plan curious, or you don't know whether you've got a good or great product, that's problem number one. That means your people who are in charge of your 401k have not been doing their due diligence.
To be a man and just work and support your family, that's honorable work. That is an honorable thing to do.
Yep.
To just support your family, regardless of if you enjoy it or not. If you're working with somebody that only has one carrier, that's fine. But if they say, oh yeah, this is the cheapest rate, but they have one offering, they are lying to you.
As an entrepreneur, you should like what you're doing, or like the product you're selling, or like some aspect, whether it's doing the deal, closing the deal, whether it's filling the candle jars. Like, you don't have to have a strategic niche, but inside your field, you should have what you like and enjoy just to keep you doing it.
Do you know a guy named Phil Pearson either? So Phil Pearson owns a video production company who was introduced to me by another friend. I met with him. He like manages YouTube channels for like $500,000 subscriber channels, like big channels. And they also do video production for like Ford and all that kind of stuff, right? Small company, but they kill it. And I asked him, hey, would you help me manage this channel? He's like, well, like you can, I would love to, but you can't afford me. Yeah. But his dad is a missionary to Nepal. And then and then they have a shelter there for women that have been sex trafficked. And then to help fund that shelter, they started the editing company. Because his dad was an entrepreneur from the States. Moved over there. And
that's awesome.
I was like, dude, let's do it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Hey, no, it's cool. It's good background, you know, and that's just like, so Mike Babcock, former coach of the Red Wings, one thing that he said, and I'm not trying to quote, I'm just paraphrasing here, is that anytime he entered a rink, he was looking to steal something. So he comes to watch his nephew play a square hockey game. He's checking, he's observing the other coaches and things, like, so he can take something to steal for the Detroit Red Wings, right? Yeah. That's, I'm downloading, you know, like, because as we've talked, like, I want to build out through LinkedIn, but I'm, you know, it's going to have to require these other channels. I don't know where it ends. It's really just to put my searchable, authentic self out there. It's part of what we're doing here today, but it's going to require, I can't be a video editor, you know, that's not my strong suit. Anything detail finish work, no, you got the wrong guy. Like, that's not my cup of tea.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing, because I would call you a seasoned entrepreneur.
Okay.
At this point in your life, you've gone through a lot of stuff, and we're going to talk about some of the things you've gone through in the past. You've been a 401k rep. Would that be the right way to say that?
Yeah, that'd be the right way to say.
Okay. 401k rep to co-owner of a company, to writing co-author of a book, to like LinkedIn, like you're just killing it on the space, branding, hiring, payroll. I mean, you've gone from the rep side, which is kind of where I started too, and just being a rep, and then just blossoming into your own company. So to have the humility to still be like, I'm always learning, I'm always downloading, because that is going to be the successful entrepreneur versus the proud. And though the people that aren't willing to learn are the ones that they fade out fast.
For sure.
And so that's cool to hear. So this is a good segue for us.
Okay.
So this is Evan. Evan co-owns with Steve 401k, Michigan 401k Advisors.
Michigan 401k Advisors.
We've known each other for how long?
A little over a year and a half. Yeah.
Year-ish. My previous office space was right next to his wife. We became friends. His wife's a lovely lady. She's like, you should meet my husband. And then we've just kind of been friends and trying to figure out how best to help each other in Michigan here. So appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
Wanted to start off by we wanted to look through, I guess, the past, because you do 401ks. So first, could you tell us really what you do? What is what you guys do here in Michigan?
Okay. So Michigan 401k Advisors we're financial advisors. We operate as fiduciary on over 100 401ks in the state of Michigan. And what that means is we help plan sponsors run and manage their retirement benefit. What makes us a little bit different is this is 100% of my specialty. So I wake up, I'm doing 401ks. I go to bed, I'm thinking about 401ks. My team members, which are wealth managers, so they do individual benefits. We have 3 advisors who work with the participants in those 401ks, which is just, it makes us unique, because the average advisor in America has 1.4 401ks. So that tells me the bar to manage or run a 401k is very low. And so what we do is we go above and beyond that, and we just say, no, rather than this should be something we do on our side, because financial advisors, as Steve would say, are allergic to saying no. Yeah, sure, I'll run your 401k. We're going to say, no. This is an important benefit. We are going to just do this and do this extremely well. And that's how we built out Michigan 401k advisors.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that connected me with you first is so many people try to wear so many different hats. And when you spread yourself so thin, you can only be so good at one thing. And eventually your overall just deliverables go down when you're trying to do everything. So the fact that you guys found your niche, you know your niche, you're good at your niche, and this is why I think you're successful.
Yeah.
What I want to do, so this is why he's on the podcast. We were talking about really what we wanted to talk about. Cause I mean, we could talk for 2 hours about all the new legislation and, stuff that even at the event we just had, Evan talked to a lot of people about some changes. But what I wanted to do was talk about you mentioned that you were an a sales rep for 401k companies.
Yeah.
Okay. There are 2 audiences of this podcast. All right. The audience 1 is entrepreneurs, generally young people. I think it's 70% of people that watch the show are from ages 18 to 30.
Okay.
So there could be some young people in here wanting to know hey, I'm interested in being a financial advisor. And they get a recruitment letter from a carrier being hey, sell 401ks with us. So one of the things I want to talk about today is really what it's like working in that environment.
Okay.
Then the other people that watch the show are generally normal W-2 jobs, killing it on that side of things. But they're just interested in learning different things. So they're going to be, working in your offices or doctor's offices, factories, whatever. But they just want to learn what it's different industries.
Yep.
So then it's the next thing I want to talk about today is how to know if you found the right financial advisor.
Okay.
So what are some red flags that people need to be aware of before they invest their money with a certain person and a certain company? All right. So I guess let's talk about when you first got started as a, what do you call it? Carrier rep? What should I?
Yeah. I mean, a wholesaler, 401k sales rep. I was a quota sales rep for Paychex. So Paychex is either the largest or second largest payroll company. I think they're the largest for small businesses. ADP does bigger businesses like the Beaumont Health System here in Michigan and things like that. So I was working on completing my master's in accounting, and it's 2008, and I needed a job, and Paychex was hiring. So I took a sales job there, selling 401k services. It gets super weedy, but all 401ks are made up of 3 parts. You have a third-party administrator, so that's who oversees the money moving around in the plan and then accounts for it and prepares the year-end tax statement. You've got a record keeper, so that's what most people, anyone listening to this podcast who's not a financial advisor, is going to associate their retirement plan with the record keeper. That's a name Fidelity. It could be Paychex. It could be ADP, John Hancock. Even our current clients, sometimes say oh, I've got either a Michigan 401k advisor's 401k, which they don't. They actually have one held by one of the record keepers,
right?
Or they'll name the record keeper. The third entity is the financial advisor to the 401k. So when I started at Paychex, what I was actually selling was the TPA services, just the third party, which is this administrative function inside the 401k. Paychex had their own in-house third-party service, and they trained us to sell that both to startup 401k, so companies that didn't have a 401k, and then also look at companies that Paychex was currently doing the payroll for, and we could see inside their payroll journal that they had a 401k, and that 401k wasn't administered by Paychex. So go talk to them, get them to move that service over. I believe at the time they referred to it as the treble hook, right? You're never going to leave Paychex if we do your payroll, your 401k, and one other thing, whether it's HR, healthcare.
Yeah,
all those
now
things
they've started to do Bennett health insurance too.
Exactly. So at that time, they sent me off to Rochester for 1 week of training. Then I came back to the field for 30 days or 40 days, and then I had to go back to Rochester to kind of take an examination, which really wasn't an examination. It was really hey, if you're still around, you haven't washed out, we're going to keep you around. And then I was given a quota after that. So at the time when I first started, it was 4 new plans a month. So that was 1 a week. And then by the time I left 2 years later, after making President's Club 2 consecutive years, I think I was up to 6 units is what they were calling them at the time, 6 401ks. There were some other products. Per month.
That seems crazy high, dude.
It is.
Was that not? Was that an that seems like.
As an advisor, I'm looking to do 6 to 10 a year.
Right.
So it is a crazy high number. It's achievable, but it's achievable because Paychex has the perfect modality to talking to business owners. We're running your payroll. There's almost this built-in faith or understanding, like, oh, you have my payroll. Now you're talking to me about HR or healthcare or other benefits. Yeah. Like, why wouldn't I let you in the room? You should be the authority. You should know best, which is crazy scary because I sold my first 401k before I went to the second stage of school. So I went for a week. I learned how to spell 401k. And then I was meeting with business owners and sold one in the next 30 days. I didn't know anything. I mean, I didn't know a thing. But with that, faith is the wrong word. What's the word I'm looking for? Just the belief, confidence. Thank you. The confidence in coming from internal inside their payroll, they bought from me. So it wasn't my good looks, that's for sure.
So how does that work? You know, for what I do, I have a taste of that, right? Because when I started working, contracted with Aflac, you know, it was very much like we're out selling. I didn't even know what a payroll deduction was. And then I was telling companies they need to do payroll deductions. I didn't know what that meant. Yeah. I had no clue what that meant. I just know that that's what I was told to say.
Yep.
So then I do know, but then also like we're not part of the payroll. Like we were completely cold. Like we had no relationship in the company, so we had definitely a bigger uphill battle. What were the benefits for you as from a career perspective? Like, is that a job that you would recommend for people? What are the red flags of like this is why I got out of there? Like, you know, we can be as controversial as you want, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think, I'm just interested. Like, so
my 13-year-old son will tell anyone when he gets older, he's going to be in the NHL or he's going to be a 401k rep. He doesn't even know what it means, but he wants to take over my business, which I would be more than happy to hand off to him. And so what I've told him is, if that's really what you want to do, you need to go to school, go to college, get a degree in whatever interests you, you know, and then when you get out, you have to pass your licensing exam and then go work for Paychex for 2 years. And you need to hear no 50 times a day for 2 years. And then you can come work for me. I'm happy to hand you the keys of the castle. Paychex, through my personal experience, great sales organization. It teaches you how to sell. It gets you talking to business owners. And I'm not the only one who's jumped from Paychex, but I was just with someone yesterday and like, I can't believe you became a financial advisor coming from Paychex, because it is rare.
Yeah.
If you have the lights turned on and you're always listening, so C3 set 3, and I'm jumping around here, but C3 set 3 was my sales manager's mantra. So that meant we had to set 3 appointments on the phone and we had to see 3 people every day. Oftentimes we couldn't leave the office until we had already set 3 appointments. And so that means I'm meeting with 15 business owners a week, talking to them about their business, understanding what their concerns are. And just like you in that first week, they're sometimes throwing me questions like, okay, well, what about my 941? I don't know what a 941 is at the time. Now I know it's the quarterly tax returns, which they have to do. But if you turn your lights on and you listen to that, and you also use the team selling approach that Paychex was really pushing, you become exposed to how the business world works. And that was my strategic advantage when I went out on my own.
So how many calls did it take you? So was it all via phone, or did you go in person at all?
It was all via, the setting appointments was all via phone. Occasionally you'd get a good email blast, like back in the day, and you'd get them, you know. I'd always do an email blast in the morning, because if that did the hard work for me, I didn't have to call anybody.
Yeah.
But it could be 3 phone calls. It could be 300 phone calls. Like, it was different every day. And some days your attitude isn't going to get you any appointments. And some days you're smiling and dialing and it's happening for you, which I don't even know if that world really exists anymore. That too, again, when I left on my own, I thought that, I'm going to pick up and call businesses and they're going to want to meet to talk about their 401k because they did at Paychex. The second I lost that confidence because I didn't have a view of their payroll initially, the appointments were near impossible to make.
When you had the indoor scope taken away from you, that door was shut.
When I could call up and say, hey, this is Evan, I'm calling from Paychex, your HR team. I want to come out and meet with you and talk about your retirement plan. Oh, we don't have a retirement plan. That's exactly why I want to talk to you. I'm going to be in your area next week on Wednesday. Does 8 or 3 work? Something like that. It's been a while since I've had to do it.
Yeah.
But that's pretty close to what the script I would use. And it was pretty deadly. And then if I really got desperate, I'm really not making appointments. Hey, this is Evan from Paychex. I'm calling from your HR team. We need to meet with you to talk about your payroll. down and dirty, but got one for my sales rep manager saw me get that appointment. It gave me someone to go to talk to. And I knew I probably wasn't selling that person a darn thing, but it was someone to talk to. You know, it was a tick check for my sales
quota,
manager, my quota. Exactly.
So you did this for 3, how long?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
Okay.
Yep.
At what point in your Paychex journey were you like, so did you go straight from Paychex to Michigan 401k advisors, or was there something in between?
Straight to that.
Okay. At what point does Steve, your founder, where does he enter this whole equation?
Well, I've talked about the manager before. I should shout him out because I do owe him a lot. Joe Landis, and to our prior conversation before we started, he left that role to take a pharmaceutical job, which he's excelling at and making their President's Club or whatever they call it in that. He was very much into the financial aspect of the 401k space. And so he was always pushing us to learn, bringing us ideas. You know, he was a little bit outside the Paychex mold and wanted us to expand our understanding. And so in that, at one point I wrote the retirement plan for my wife's boss when she was first started out as a nurse practitioner in a small office downriver Michigan. And he had a bunch of financial questions. So I went to my manager and said, hey, look, I wrote a piece of business for my wife's boss. I want to protect this. I want this to be good business. I need a good financial advisor to manage this plan. And so he recommended Steve Case at the time. So that's the first time Steve and I met. I think we're maybe 6 to 8 months into my Paychex career. Steve must have saw something in me because from that point on, either that or wanted to continue to expand that business. We started meeting about every 2 weeks for coffee. And he was, look back, maybe it was a recruitment, maybe it didn't start off as pure recruitment, just wanting to do more business. But ultimately it was those conversations which said, all right, let's join forces and let's do something.
When you made the jump, and we're going to get back to quota, because I do want to talk a little bit about the pros and the cons of working with someone who's quota based, because I do think that it is worth having that conversation. So we'll get back to that. I want to talk about your relationship with your wife when it came to starting your own business. And the reason I say that is, like, obviously having your spouse be on board is important when you're making jumps like that.
Yeah.
So you're making President's Club, I'm assuming decent money at Paychex.
Decent money, yep.
You know, to where, you know, you're supporting your family as you need to support them.
Yeah.
And then you go to your wife and says, hey, think about starting my own business. How did that conversation go? And was there initial apprehension? Was there, like, how did you guys work through that to get where you're at now?
Yeah. So Steve, like I said, maybe it was a recruitment, maybe it was just getting to know you. I'd started the conversations about wanting to do this, what the next thing was going to be, because even at Paychex, I'm trying to think, I think I was paid like $38,000 salary, somewhere in that ballpark. And then I got 16% of what Paychex was billing the client for what I sold. Yearly. And I got that as a month end on a commission check. So 60 days after sale. And it was something like that. And then as you sold, you tiered up and maybe that percentage moved. I think if you got to President's Club, it was like 25%. And so the sooner you could get to the 25% in the mark in the year, then you really wanted to start selling like crazy. There was always this variable. Like there were these good months and bad months. And that's always like tough to explain. Like for me, who has my risk score is like 99, like let's just do this. My mom could pull out an essay I wrote from 3rd grade that said I was going to own my own business and do all these other sorts of things. But it says right there, I'm going to own my own. So I wasn't risk averse. So I was like, well, this is one way we can modulate this. Like we can have some control. And, Paychex is huge in corporate. So they're always making changes, whether it's managers, whether it's staffing, moving people around. So there's kind of like this devil at the door. You've got your commission fight just to protect your mess. And then you have the corporate fighting you as well. So in that transition, there was long conversations over a course of time, like, hey, I want to do this. I want to do this. Went to dinner with Steve and his wife, got to know her. Steve and I negotiated an agreement which allowed me to transition and sort of protected me from that day of like getting a paycheck to not having a paycheck, right? Which is what I'm doing with some of our reps now. So that transition went smooth. The next transition, which was not as smooth, was when I absorbed 50% equity in the business. So Steve financed the business. So he owns 100% until we met certain goals. When we met those goals, I think 4 years in. So I mentioned earlier, 4 years in, we were in the black. So once we hit the black, then it went from me having a draw. There's no guarantee in a draw, but a draw to, okay, here's here's 50% of the business. And now you have a bill for the rent. Now you have a bill for payroll.
Yeah.
And so that was a much scarier time in that transition. I could have handled that better because I was excited for it to happen. I knew the equity immediately, day one, just giving me the equity, I could turn around and sell that for 2.5 to 3.4 times what it was earning me right then there. Yeah. I knew that. And so maybe I could have done a little bit better coaching my wife along in that,
what that was going to be.
Because that's when things got scary. Things weren't scary those first 4 years.
Interesting.
Things were scary when I came off the draw and went to full equity partnership.
So then you guys went to was she still doing what she's doing now or when?
Well, I think at that time, if I remember correctly, she may have been in NP school.
Okay. So you were sole income at that point for your family?
No, she was a nurse.
Okay,
nurse
she was.
Through that.
Okay, cool.
But at that time we've got 2 kids, 1 in diapers, and we're spending money on grad school. I look back and I can even say that was a scary time, even though I didn't feel it or internalize it at that time.
Yeah. Looking back on that, I mean, I feel like that happened to us. I think we're going through that now because like when I bought this office space or, leased this, like our rent went up like 50%. And then like trying to always make sure my admin's pay is like the right amount for the work he does. And like
in the past 2 years, that'd be tough. I mean, inflation, we probably really felt that,
We're feeling it. Ann and I had the conversation. I made more. We are saving less than we did my second year doing this.
Okay.
Just the amount of like inflation. So especially with what we do, people don't have as much discretionary money. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to benefits, what we do is not top of mind. So we're like the third thing on the list. It's like health insurance, 401k, supplemental. So we're obviously the bottom dog on the list. And then on top of that, you throw in all the extra expenses. And on top of that, 2020, we lost probably like north of $34,000 out of our own bank, like our personal checking in the month, just the year of 2020 to keep the business afloat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we went from, we got married. We had $700 in our bank account when we got married. We had $700. Like a quick little synopsis. I'm from Ohio. My wife's from Virginia. I moved here to Michigan, started working, selling supplemental insurance to companies. And then she moved from Virginia. When we got married, we had a small basement apartment, like in the basement of somebody's house. We look at our check and we had like $500 in there. And then like our bills, like our bill for the apartment was $500. So like, if I would have made nothing, we had like whatever.
Yeah.
The month of September that we got married, I made $300.
Wow.
And so like that's how we started.
Yeah.
Right. So then fast tracked 9 months from there. No, 6 to 9. Yeah, 9 months from there. My wife quit her job to come work with me because my business was going it was just booming.
Yeah.
And then we were like, this is crazy. Fast forward another 6 months, January of 2020, January, February. That was like my first month where I made $30,000. And I'm like,
I made it.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Like this is insane. And then, or maybe it was 20,000. I don't remember, but it was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Me, right. For us, especially coming from where we were at.
I'll take a $20,000 check. Yeah.
COVID hit. And then it was like, literally, it was like the Lord gave us that money so he could just like not completely be broke. And it was funny because I was actually thinking about buying a car because I was like, like we talked about earlier, you get the money, you spend the money.
Yep.
And we were really disciplined on the money. I almost bought like a Mazda 6. I was like wanting one super bad. Almost bought it. I didn't buy it. And I'm like, thank you. Because if I would have bought that car, we would have been in detriment. So anyway, I'd say is like we limped through COVID. We limped through 2021. At the end of 2021, we start getting our bearings back. Companies start opening up in Michigan. Mm-hmm. As we know, for people that live in Michigan, we had a lot of shutdowns here and government shutdowns, and we'll get political in the next podcast. But it didn't help. When businesses were shut, we couldn't do anything. And then 2022 was a decent year, which then allowed us to get in this space and upgrade. And so now we're still we're riding that line.
Yeah.
I had to talk to you earlier about I pay myself sometimes not that much. Sometimes I pay myself more. Depends on the month. So that's where we're at. We're still on that up and down trajectory. And I just I'm excited for us to get to the place where it's just a little bit more stability.
You know, and this kind of gets back to what I was saying earlier, the way you phrased the question. I don't remember your exact wording, but like when you made it, right? Newsflash, you're going to feel that way always.
Yeah.
Just you change whatever you want on your distribution check, but you're still going to feel that way. And I think that's where the success comes from, right? So, you know, tying it back to paychecks, they create that, they make you feel desperate by jamming a quota down your throat and telling you you're not good enough and like walking people out of the office every other month, right? So that's how they create that urgency. You know, as an entrepreneur, you're always going to feel that way.
You have the urgency created for you, just organically in the, you know, in what you're doing.
And it's hard when you work on residual income, like you and I both do. So much of it has to be done on faith that like, if I pay this person this, I will get an ROI on it. And I also experienced it. So I know that ROI isn't in 6 months or 9 months, whenever it is, it takes time. And, you know, there's times I look at the books and you're just like, oh, if I just fired everybody, that's all money. That's all money.
I'm making a lot of money. But then you're
how long's that last? You're not.
How
does that look? And then what happens when you go to do a presentation and you're trying to sell yourself and sell your business as it is something, but you're Oz. You're the only one behind the curtain. Like you can be successful like that, but I think you have to make that determination on day one. I'm a lone gun man. Maybe one admin just to move the paperwork, but I'm going to run as lean as possible. And you can be successful that way. You can be successful the way you're doing it right now too. Say like, I'm going to scale up. I'm going to empower people around me and trust that my investment in a human being is return on, it gives me some ROI, gives me some income back. It just takes time.
It does. Right. And that's the, man, I love the entrepreneur talks, because that's sometimes the reminder entrepreneurs need. It's like, it can be worth it. And it's like, how do you want to structure your business? It's like you said earlier, do you want to be like I just imagine like a mad scientist with like hair running all over the place, just like crazy busy because they're doing it all.
Yep.
Because there is a dollar amount towards your time. Because
we are all hourly employees. Everybody is an hourly employee. If you are earning a salary, and I don't care what the number is, call it $400,000, just divide by your time. That's your hourly rate.
Yeah.
And I think it's so funny when the tasks that some people will take on and not even appreciate what their own hourly rate is. Now, there's a time in business where you need to hang your own pictures on the wall, or you need to edit your own podcast, or whatever that thing is, right? But then there's a time in business where, well, that hour spent hanging those pictures is costing you more than it would cost to pay a handyman to come in and pay his hourly rate. And you have to be mindful of that, and you have to pick and choose. And that's the teeter-totter of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's a good lesson for any entrepreneur listening to this, is like, do you know how much you make an hour?
Yeah.
That's a really good, and I don't know. I did know. I knew for a while, like if I broke it down, I can't remember, it was like 60 or 70 or something like that.
Yeah.
But then I don't remember now, and then it gets skewed, because a lot of entrepreneurs, when you start, you're making like $10 an hour because you're working so much and so long. I mean, even if you made $80,000 a year, but you're working 60-hour weeks, your per hour is no better than somebody, you know, that's doing a construction job somewhere.
And that's what makes the entrepreneur different, is you actually, I would advocate, work to that number, figure out what that number is. And then, you know, funny story, one of our financial advisors that came in, Charlie, he moved from the east side of the state, and he had broken off on his own, and we were bringing him into our firm, and it's that getting to know you process. He's meeting our clients, and he's educating, he's trying to find business. And fast forward to now he's super successful. But that first year he came over, he had a whole bunch of life stuff, but he showed me his commission, and he made $15,000 after fees. That was the entire year of revenue was $15,000. And I said to him half jokingly, like, well, why don't you just go work at Starbucks? Then it's not worth your hourly rate. Yeah. And I didn't know that until 2 years later. He's brought it up like multiple occasions. He's like, you said it, and you were right. And like, that's when I decided I had to sell the place on the west side of the state, Grand Rapids area, for those in Michigan, and move over to, I had to do what you guys I had to work with you guys full time, because there was the prospect there, and he's now super successful. Like, money is the least, sorry. He just had a baby 3 weeks ago. He married a girl in our office. Like his whole life changed, but you have to ask yourself, like, what do you want to do with your time? And if your time is worth, you figure out you're worth $20 an hour, and you're, let's say enjoyment's neutral, forget like loving what you're doing. could you go work in the union for somewhere and make $20 an hour as an electrician's apprentice and have a pension? Like, would that be more fulfilling for you? Could you go work for paychecks and have them tell you what to do every day and make a better hourly rate? Because we're in this to make money. And so you got to know what your value is there.
Yeah. And then it was 2-part questions. Like, what are you making now? And then based on your industry, what is the max amount that you're going to make?
Right.
Right. Because it's like, you could already be maxed out at $15 an hour. Like if you're making candles, no offense to your candle makers out there, I'm assuming it's not a super high profitable business. It could be, but I'm like, the time it takes to make the wax and set, I don't know. I'm just making, but like, it could be that you will forever be capped at $15 an hour.
Or no, let's stay on the candle. You got to put wax in the glass and then you sell it, right?
Yeah.
And so whether you develop the scent, develop the candle, or you're good at selling the candle, you're good at one part or all parts of it. At some point, you're gonna have to hire China to fill the glass.
Yeah.
And so you need to know your hourly rate. So when you know, hey, I am losing out on new sales because I'm spending more hours filling glass jars with wax, and I could pay somebody to do that. That's when it's time to move. It's not time. I'm not on Shark Tank. I'm not that. I don't have a product. So I don't know if you start off with day one outsourcing your production, or if everybody who has a product has to start with their doing their own product. I'd probably say you do.
Me too.
Every 401k client that we have, I've met, they know me. We're now starting to get close where there's some clients that are coming from my reps that they know better than I know, but I still feel that I had to go through the process of doing all the work that they're doing in order to understand how to grow it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a helpful thing, man. Looking at your industry and be like, what really is here for me? Do you need to rethink what you're doing? And then we've had this conversation, right? It's like, do you want to take a look at your job? Because sometimes I think as entrepreneurs, especially, you can float through and just be like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, and just do your little niche, but then never actually blink and be like, well, is this the niche I actually want to be a part of?
Yeah.
Or is there another niche that is actually way more potential? I do think enjoying your work is helpful. It's nice when you enjoy it. It's not everything. And I do think it's a lie. I had a buddy on. It's a lie. It's this American lie that you deserve to enjoy your job. You don't deserve crap.
Yeah.
Like, let's just start there. You don't deserve to enjoy your job. If you can find something that you happen to support your family and you enjoy it, man, you are winning at life.
Yeah.
So, but to have the discipline, and I'll like say because I've been going through this too, like to be a man and just work and support your family. That's honorable work. That is an honorable thing to do.
Yep.
To just support your family, regardless of if you enjoy it or not. And so I do think that is important to say. We're not saying go like all Disney and follow your heart and, be a fairy princess and do all this stuff. But we're like, it is nice if you can enjoy it.
Yeah.
And make money at the same time. That's when you found.
Again, we won't go down the politics road, but it is pertinent with what's going on in France. They want to move, or Macron has moved the retirement age up 2 years, right? And so us as Americans look at that and like, it's 64, big freaking deal. We're 65 here. Required minimum distributions are now at 73. Grow up, France. Yeah. But your friend was spot on. It is the myth or the lie that we tell each other as Americans that you should enjoy their job. It is the myth or the lie that's commonly accepted in France that at 62, you get to enjoy your life. The French are very much more, I'll work really hard, I'll raise my family, and then I get to start enjoying life at 62. I talked about college earlier.
Yeah.
I'm the biggest proponent of college. I don't like any of this new talk that college is unnecessary or should be looked down upon. But I am also the first person to say it's how you prolong your adolescence. College is a big goof off, and that is part of the thing. Like, that is what makes college great. It's not just your professor interaction. However, that gets back to what you should enjoy. You should enjoy school. Like, it should be fun. You should, make friends. Like, that is all baked into the myth of being an American. And I really don't know how we ended up down this road.
I love it. No, this is why we do a podcast. Right? Yeah. We can talk for 2 hours and go in circles. I mean, that's the whole point.
But I guess as an entrepreneur, you should like what you're doing, or like the product you're selling, or like some aspect, whether it's doing the deal, closing the deal, whether it's filling the candle jars, like whether that is, you don't have to have a strategic niche, but inside your field, you should have what you like and enjoy just to keep you doing it.
Yeah. Because it is impossible. I'll talk to the salespeople for a second, right? It's like, if you don't either believe in the product that you're selling or enjoy some aspect of your job, because there's going to be aspects of your job that you hate regardless of what you do. Like, that's just how life is. Like, you cannot outsource every single thing you hate doing. I mean,
it's called work, not super awesome fun.
Correct. Right. This is all work for a reason. And so, I mean, and that's where, but if you can find like, for example, I really enjoy talking to business owners.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yep.
Like if you can put me in front of a business owner, it's done. Like I'm closing the sale.
Yeah.
It's like, that's like easy. My conversion ratio is like through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
I hate all the prep work and I hate all the service work.
Yeah.
Like I hate everything that comes after. I hate everything that comes before. But then that meeting, like I love that. If I could just talk to business owners every day, all day, it would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I could like have those conversations and learn about businesses and be strategic in conversation and really try to learn and help and assist and all. Like that's great.
Yeah.
But then having to do the cold calling and the work to set that up, and then you get people put in plans, and then they have like tons of questions and claims and changes and forms, and like that's the stuff that drives me insane. But like that's part of life. Now you can't scale. I mean, that's why I hired an admin, right?
Yeah.
To do all the service work at the end on the back end. So when I sell something, I still have the relationship with them, but it gets done quicker now. Because that's the other thing, we were talking about when you try to do it all yourself. When you try to do it all yourself, you aren't probably going to be as profitable either.
Mm-mm.
Because you're not getting as much done. And so now, like in the past, I'd be like 24 to 72 hour behind on emails, right? And that's bad when people are like wanting claims and this and that. Like that's just unacceptable. Like that can't happen. But it's
especially
also like,
in what you do, someone could be waiting for that check to bridge them before their medical procedure.
Correct. So
like
it's like
yours
it's
is
timely and Affleck. Like you can actually get fired if you accept, like if you understand it's happening, you have 24 hours. Like
so once you've read that email,
you have 24 hours to respond and get things moving.
Yeah.
And so like when we hired Tom, it was an intentional, like, we don't have the money for this. Like when I hired, I did not have the money for Tom.
But you also didn't have the money to lose what you had written.
Correct. I couldn't afford not to hire him either. It was like the catch-22 of business. It's like, I can't do this. I also can't not do this.
Right. And that's what got me to when you said like that, we're talking about the feeling of being an entrepreneur. That's always there. You just keep moving the goalposts, it's, now it's not, it's Tom and now it's gonna be like two more Toms. Like those goalposts are always there.
They'll scale. I mean, and it's but it's knowing when. I think the question is, as an entrepreneur, when do you know you're making the worthwhile investment? Like when do you know you're scaling at the right time? Like look at layoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Amazon and Google and Facebook, like Meta, right? Zuckerberg is like, I don't know, it was like 4,000, 2,000 employees that he's laying off because he thought for sure that the metaverse was the next big thing. And now they're completely scrapping it.
Yeah.
But he put billions and hired all these people. Now he's just letting them all go because it was just not the right thing and not the right scale.
I put my son's Oculus on the other day because it just wasn't logging in right. And I ended up in some Jurassic Park game and I'm like amazed. Like it was so cool. I haven't put it on since.
No.
Like it was cool for 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So how do you know? Well, obviously in what we're doing, because we're so tied to business owners and business success, I don't know if you ever know. I mean, I've only been doing this for 12 years. So I still have a lot to learn. But the way I've personally chosen to scale is I pay myself, I'm an S Corp, so I pay myself a specific salary every single month. That also helps mom at home be happy. Like we have this consistency. And I use the boom months as the fuel to whether it's hire people or try and scale. Now, part of that and where I am now versus where I was from, say, year 4 to year 8, back then, because salespeople, newsflash, if you're in sales, call salespeople, right? I don't like hearing no, so I don't like telling people no. I'm a great buyer for salespeople.
Dude, salespeople are the easiest to sell to.
Easiest. My wife, if someone calls and comes knocking on the door trying to sell me their CD at home, if I answer the door, my wife already knows I'm buying it.
Yeah, your hand's already halfway in your wallet. Like you already know you're buying that. Yeah.
Yeah. So years 4 to years 8, I would buy things. I would buy marketing services or videos or leads or I would buy tangible things, not people, not try and grow the business. Some successful, some complete boondoggles. I remember I got involved.
Like that's a good word.
Yeah. I remember I got into a software, I think it was called Marketo, which was part of Salesforce, which I'm sure is awesome. The idea is you could build out these email ladder cycles, right? Well, I'm a salesman. I'm not the person to implement that. I'm not Tom. I don't have that background. Just working through and learning the system exhausted me. I wanted to talk to business owners like you. So my niche inside my niche is I like solving business owners' problems. If I can get them to identify to me what their clear problem is, I like finding the solution, even if it's not a solution I sell, whether it be Aflac or telecom or payroll service, like these things that I have experienced in my ecosystem talking to business. I love that connective tissue. I like it even more when they need help with their retirement plans.
Of course, right. Right.
And so now years 8 to today, I'm putting that money in people. And I can tell you people are way more expensive than all those software things. Even the expensive stuff that I bought, the expensive marketing campaigns and things, because people, they need their check every single payroll. And they take more time to develop, and then you have your own personal empathy, which gives them more of a bandwidth. And I'm fortunate that I haven't had where I felt taken advantage of. But when you're writing out checks and now you didn't have a great month, and it can sometimes feel that way. Or if you're in my world, some of my vendors pay me quarterly, right? So by the year end, I know I'm always going to be in the black. I'm not putting myself at risk of having to go into personal savings anymore to fund the business as you did. And those times are scary, and that's faith in what you do.
Yeah.
If you're not going to bet on yourself, who are you going to bet on?
Yeah.
So I don't have to do that, but like, there's the things the kids want to do, things the wife wants to do, things I want to do, and you're just watching that money go out, waiting.
It's crazy how fast that money leaves, right?
So fast. I gotta write check. I gotta write checks tomorrow for payroll. Like, it just.
So if any business owners watching this, I think everyone can understand my pain on payroll processing days, where it's like, so I'm super small. I have one employee, right?
Yeah.
But like, even when I pay myself. So generally about all the same time, office rent and payroll and credit cards. I have them for whatever reason. I have them all paid at the same time.
Yeah.
And when you watch your bank account go from here, then you log in the next morning and it's like here, and you're just like. And you're like, all right, next month we're building it back up. And that's where we're still at right now. It's still that like, we're here. Okay, we're back to almost zero, building back up to pay everything like this. And when you do add that employee factor, because they need that check, they trust you. And I think that's the pressure. And this isn't meant to make entrepreneurs built up, but like not everyone's built for that.
No.
Like not everybody is built for the pressure that if you don't do your job, people won't eat.
Right.
And that is a scary, like I've lost more sleep over that. And luckily I've never had to go to Tom and say, hey, I can't pay you this. Like, but I have on multiple occasions taken less than he has. And, because I'm like, I have to pay this person.
Yeah.
And then Anna's like, hey, how are we doing this month? I'm like, not great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are hard conversations to have, especially as a man, right? Because you want to provide, and then you feel like you have the dream, especially like the entrepreneur is the one who has the dream.
Yep.
Their spouse necessarily doesn't have the dream.
Right.
And you see where you,
but they have 50% of the expense.
Yeah. Correct. Right. Yeah. There. And so then they don't see what you see necessarily, unless you're like amazing at communication, right? In your marriage. And even if you are, like, they still don't necessarily have the risk tolerance that you have.
And if you're a good salesman, you're probably not good at that communication because, you're on to the next one. You see the future. You see these lily pads that you're jumping to. You know the committed sale that you have that you booked last month, but you don't get paid for another, 60, 90, whatever days. You know the money's coming, but I've yet to find a good way to communicate that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, dude, it is. And then it's like, still in our marriage, right? Like Anna will be like, hey, can I buy this? And I'll be like, I think so.
Yeah.
Like we have a budget, but it's like, I don't know. Like they're like, I think I have sales coming, but like we had at the end of first quarter, we had 5 enrollments cancel in 6 days.
Right.
Like, dude, like that. So like that kind of stuff happens. And so for the people that are interested in being an entrepreneur, what I say is like, definitely walk into it understanding that if we see on YouTube, I've said this on podcasts, like every podcast, you see the people with Ferraris and they're selling their courses, and you see like, people view entrepreneurs like you're going to be a Warren Buffett.
Right.
And that's 99.9% of the time that will not be the case. Now, can you be successful and can you build something? Absolutely. But you're going to hit a lot of valleys before you ever reach to that point. of what we as Americans would define as success. And I think
Yeah.
success would be at the point where, I guess if we defined it, it's like, I don't look at bills anymore. Right.
Yeah.
I think it's a simple,
Yeah.
when you're at the point when you go shopping, you go at restaurants, when you don't even look at the total, that's like you are in the top 5% of the world wealth.
Yeah.
If you could do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, but you're going to reach a lot of hard times.
And the other thing I would say is if you looked at my pattern from 2010 to today, it looks like a straight line. It looks like an ascending line.
Yeah.
But if you take any one of those time periods, less the past 3 years, the past 3 years have just been insane. Like it's just unusual. You'd see that the peaks and valleys, right? Right. And but what I think that you're built with, and I'm built from the same cloth, is I felt just the line the entire time. I felt this. My wife felt this, right? The income was this. The expenses were this, right? But I didn't internalize it and never felt that. And I think I was built that way from day one, or I was socialized that way. Whatever. It was in for me. I've seen lots of different in my industry, right? Mm-hmm. In my industry, there's 3 ways to be successful. You can be a good salesman, good communicator, talk to people. I think that's where I fall into. You can be a total wonk. You are in the numbers. Financial services, 401k, insurance in your world. You know it in and out, and you could give symposiums on it, right?
Yeah.
Now that person generally struggles to sell, but I've seen those people make it because they're just they're quant. You want what they have. And then in financial services, the most successful people in the industry, they're sociopaths. They are straight up. They will lie to your face because quota rep, they're selling a product. They got something to unload on you, and whatever it takes to get you to say yes. And if they can get 100 people to say yes, and 25 of those people are angry with them, they don't care. They cash their commission check. It's done. It's down the road.
What percentage in your let's jump into this, because I think this is the perfect time for us to talk about the downside of working with a quota rep. Okay. Let me give some disclaimers. So with one of my companies, I have quota. Okay. So I'm a quota rep. So before we completely trash them, it can be done right. And I'm going to talk about the negatives on what we do first, but I have seen what you have seen, but I want to let people know. Let's talk about financial advisors first. Okay. How do you know, or can somebody know if somebody's a quota rep or not?
The first thing, the most important thing, and you see the commercials, is, are they a fiduciary? So a fiduciary is someone who takes responsibility over the disposition or movement of someone else's assets. So if someone is willing to sign as a fiduciary, as we do for all of our clients in all of our 401k plans, we are signing on the dotted line. We are legally responsible. That means I can't do anything that's not in the best interest of the client. That also means I can't make a recommendation in a room. I can't make a recommendation the first time I meet you. It just can't happen. But it does mean I can make a recommendation. A financial advisor who is on a quota rep works for one of the big firms. You see their advertisements. You see their billboards. They may have a local office, right? They're not a fiduciary. They're just an advisor, and they actually can't recommend you anything. All they can do is advise you. So they can lead you to the decision-making process. I've got a jack of spades and I've got a jack of hearts. And they're both jacks, and this one's black and this one's red, and you tend to like red a little bit more. Which one do you want to choose? That is a financial advisor. That is someone who has commercials on TV. A fiduciary is someone, and we use the same title, financial advisor, because that's the marketing name of people. But if someone's a fiduciary, what they can say is, hey, Dillon, tell me a little about your situation. Tell me about your wife's situation. Tell me about your goals, your age. It's going to sound very similar to the information that the advisor gathers. But where it's going to end is, all right, Dillon, based upon what you've told me, the jack of spades is the right choice for you. Yeah. I would recommend it. Now, you can choose the jack of hearts if you want. And if you do, let's talk about it. But you should be in the jack of spades. That is a recommendation. Totally different. The differences in the moment when you're talking to it may be so hard to even tell. But when it comes to game time, that's where the biggest difference is.
So I think, how does should anyone work with a non-fiduciary? because where is there a fiduciary somewhere in their support system?
Okay. So yes and no, right? So what the non-fiduciary advisor is going to tell you is that their organization has people so big that they're boiling down the products and they're distilling them down to just what's in the best interest of all of their clients. So there is a fiduciary way up the ladder, right? Some of them will even outsource the fiduciary work. So you're dealing with the financial advisor. They're telling you, they're making the recommendations, but the reality is there's a third party layered in there that's actually doing it.
Okay.
And guess who's paying for that third party?
You are.
Right. He's not paying for it. So when you compare the fees, God, we're getting in the weeds. Compare the fees of an advisor to a fiduciary.
Okay.
Oftentimes the advisor is more expensive, which seems counterintuitive. They're less credentialed.
Yeah.
But they have to add this layered fee in there to protect themselves, because who are you going to sue? We're going to sue them. Well, I wasn't a fiduciary. Well, I didn't know what a fiduciary was. So to answer your question, should anyone work with a financial advisor who's not a fiduciary? It's helped millions and millions of people retire. I'm not going to destroy there are good people, and it's just the organization they were hired into, and they will act in your best interest with given the tools that they have. However, LPL, which is our broker dealer, our back office, is the largest grouping of independent financial advisors in the country. We are all fiduciaries. We are agnostic to any product. We have no incentive to sell one product. There's no Glengarry, Glen Ross moment where someone comes down and says, cups of water. We need to move the cups of water today. And now your financial advisor's calling you saying, hey, you want to talk about cups of water? That doesn't happen in our industry. We hold all the risk in our office. I think we do a better job because we have to do a better job. I would not recommend a loved one to work with a non-fiduciary.
Sure.
My brother's in this industry. He works for a different firm. He's a fiduciary. Yes, by all means. If my best friend wanted, Adam's great. Go work with Adam. His firm will take care of you. I know they're operating by that standard. And because I know they're operating by that standard, it's just that there is a standard. Screw it. Your Edward Jones, your Merrill Lynch's, your Morgan Stanley's, your UBS's, your Wells Fargo's. Those are the names. Those are the advertisers. Standard? No, they're on quotas.
Yeah, well, Wells Fargo's a bunch of crooks anyway. But
well, they'll open a bank account and not tell you,
I'm gonna watch me get a defamation letter for that. Some random person.
The opinions expressed, blah blah blah.
Yeah. This is all opinionated, and I'm sure everyone we mentioned are great people, but they're a bunch of crooks. They're closing like crazy right now, Wells Fargo.
Yeah. And in terms of their advisory services, they're having the hardest time bringing reps in to get them to bring their book of a business. So,
well, no wonder people are like, I don't trust you, shady people.
It's all about confidence, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a con man confidence gain. That's where it comes from.
It does, and I'll the confidence. We'll go back really quick to the advice to entrepreneurs. If you can figure out a way to be like humbly confident, so. Humble enough to say when you don't know the answer. Don't bullcrap your way through answers. You're just humble enough to know. But confident that what you do know, or like, I don't love the term fake it till you make it, but I do love the term fake it till you make it, because there is a level of, I might be peeing my pants in fear right now, but you're going to have no clue.
Yeah.
You're going to think I've done this for years.
Yeah.
And you're going to ask me something that even if it's simple, I'm going to be like, you know what? I remember I just said, I just started 6 months ago. And they're like, you've only been doing this for 6 months? Because you're confident. Don't lie. Don't bullcrap. Tell the truth. Be honest when you don't know something. I tell to my agents all the time.
Yep.
I'm like, hey, if you don't know, just tell them you don't know. And then they'll ask, well, like, why don't you know this? This is simple. Be like, well, I started 3 months ago. Just tell them. Be honest.
Yeah.
And be like, well, my boss has been here for 4 years. And so tell them you have the support, but like, no one, people can sniff bullcrap a mile away. But anyway, where I really want to go is, I think I want to keep pulling back the blanket of I'll say now, the insurance industry. So I'll give you a little bit of insight on the insurance side. And the 401k. So if you're watching this, get some popcorn, because we're about to get...
And they cross over because the 401k industry was built by insurance providers. They were the first in the game. They built the 401k out.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. When I started those first 4 years, I primarily sold an insurance carrier's product.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Was it Johnny?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Good old Johnny.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I sell their life insurance. So, so this is, let me give you guys watching a little bit of an inside look to why it's important to find somebody that is ethical and that does what's right by you. How are we doing on your time? Are we good?
Totally good on time.
Okay, cool. So with being a life insurance brokerage, okay, your life insurance agent, number one, I'll say two things. If you're working with somebody that only has one carrier, that's fine. But if they say, oh, yeah, this is the cheapest rate, but they have one offering, they are lying to you.
Yeah.
They are lying to you. I'm not saying you shouldn't work with them, right? Like for the longest time, I only sold Aflac insurance. And so what I would say is, hey guys, this is what I have.
Mm-hmm.
This is all I can offer. There might be better out there. There might not be. I don't know. But if you want to work with me, this is what I have. That's fine.
Yeah.
Just say that, right? And as long as you understand that, but within life insurance, this is what you guys need to understand. When you were life insurance sales, there are incentives to pick certain carriers.
Yeah.
Because there are commission rate changes based off of whatever carrier and whatever product you sell.
And that's based off of what the carrier wants, what's in the best interest of the carrier.
Yep.
Like we're talking about, not necessarily in the best interest of the client.
Yep. And so, it's very, so for example, if I sell a life insurance policy that does not have a medical exam, I get 30 to 40% higher than if I have a medical exam. Because there's two types of policies. There is a non-med policy and a med policy, right? Non-med policies are more expensive across the board because there's only one premium rate.
Okay.
They're only capped at 300 to 500,000.
Yep.
You're going to spend $180 for 500,000, where with a med policy you might only spend $70 for 500,000, right? If you're healthy.
Yeah.
Right, big if you're healthy.
Yeah.
And so life insurance companies have done the actuarial risk saying across the board, it's either an approve or deny scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So those policies from an agent's perspective are super easy to sell because you ask the questions one time. There's no medical, there's no paramed visit, none of that. It's an easy sale and you get 40% more commission.
And you get paid when?
Like as soon as it processes.
And if they stop paying their policy after how long?
12 months. They have to have it for 12 months. You don't own any chargebacks.
Yeah.
So it's like those are incentivized.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, oh, by the way, yeah, you can also do med policies. Like, yeah, we have those.
Right.
But it's like, those aren't what is pushed. And so if your life insurance agent isn't willing to do the dirty work to find you the cheaper rates, you just need to make sure that if they say, hey, yeah, this isn't even going to do medical, you need to ask them, be like, hey, are you sure there's not cheaper out there? Because this happens all the time. So I will say, when you work with either a financial advisor, asking them, hey, are you a fiduciary?
That's the number one question. Yep.
When you're working with a life insurance agent, the question is, hey, are you a broker? And can you shop around with like policies that require medical exams? Because
so when you say broker, when I hear broker, that to me that says, hey, I can find you a deal with different people. That's how you the term broker means? Okay.
Yeah. So for me, it's like I have 15 life insurance carriers I can broker out. Like I'm like, hey guys, I have this client. Who's it going to be? Who can give me the best rate?
Right.
And
then you have your favorites too. And favorites because they process things quickly, pay you quickly, do right by the client in the end.
Yep. Yeah. So I have like 3 carriers that 80% of the time people are going to get placed with.
Yeah.
But then there's a 20% that they're going to be better fit with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have those even available to you, I still don't say I have the cheapest rates. I mean, I'm sure there's cheaper out there.
Yeah.
But I just know that the rates I have are good.
Mm-hmm.
You might find some better ones bundled with your home and auto.
Right.
But I know the companies that have are all A+ rating companies. They're going to be here for a long time. And so we've done the work to make sure the carriers are good.
And there's some value into what you do because we know each other well enough that the type of businesses that we're talking to, and then therefore their employees or the people we're talking to, it's not Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. Like, I might cost a little bit more, but you're actually talking to me on my phone. In my industry, some of those advisors, they will meet you. They will gather your assets. They will enroll you into their products and do your investing. But if you have less than $500,000, when you go to get another meeting with them, you get a 1-800 number. So to charge a little bit more for what you do, because of who you work with, there is some value to that.
Yeah.
And, again, not to get political. Is that a poor tax? No, I don't think that is. I don't think that's a poor tax. I think that is, you can pay for the service this way, or you can give up the service and pay less over here. That is a marketplace.
Yeah. What is your advice for a business owner shopping for a 401k advisor right now? Like if I could say, Evan, here's your floor. We're snipping this next 2 minute, whatever, like business owners shopping.
Yep.
What are the key contributors that you think that would be helpful for a business owner or an employee that they don't have a 401k in their company? They want one. Like, what are some important things to look out for?
Okay. So if you're a business owner and you have a retirement plan and you are retirement plan curious, or you don't know whether you've got a good or great product, that's problem number one. That means your people who are in charge of your 401k have not been doing their due diligence. You should be meeting with them semi-annually. All of our clients know whether their 401k is good or not. And all of the clients that we've had for more than 2 years have excellent 401ks, and they know it because we have an analytical process that we teach them to understand, and we do over and over again. So they always know where they stand. Part of that is an annual RFP. I don't want anyone going to my clients showing them a better mousetrap, so I show them what's out there every year. Do we change every year? No, change sucks. But they hear it from me coming first. So if you don't know, you've got a problem. Then I would say, ask whoever is your financial advisor, how many plans do you have? How many 401k plans do you have? You'll know immediately whether you're dealing with a generalist or an expert. I can tell you at 100 plans, I am in the top 1% of all advisors at LPL Financial. I think we're up to like 20,000 advisors. There's only 5,000 advisors at LPL that are in what's called their retirement plan network, so that they even allowed to do retirement plans. And of those, I'm in the top 1%. And I'm in the 1% by plan count. There are advisors out there who have millions or billions more total plan assets than I do, but work far fewer plans. So how many plans do you have? I think that's probably the next most important question. And then you can come up with a survey on your own. There's surveys out there on the internet. Ask some of your key employees. Tell me what you think about your retirement plan. Just let them be honest and open-minded with it, and then you'll be able to glean a lot from them. If you have a financial advisor and you say like, "Hey, who's in charge of your 401k plan?" and they answer with a Fidelity, a John Hancock, a record keeper's name, then they're probably not getting the communications, or they're not listening. But you wouldn't be shopping if they were doing their job. Now, for the employees who say, "Hey, I want my business owner to add a 401k plan," you kind of teed me up on this one, but 2023 is the year to add a 401k plan. We do startups. They don't get me super excited because, newsflash, on a plan with zero assets on it, I make $0, right? I make money off the total amount of assets inside the 401k plan. So when I do a startup plan, I make next to nothing in year one, and unless it goes really fast, probably nothing for the first 3 or 5 years. But in 2023, the government has incentivized business owners.
We're back, baby.
Yeah, to start a 401k plan. Okay. They'll give you up to $5,000 towards whatever those startup costs are, and they range from $1,000 up to nearly $5,000. All depends on your plan. And what's unbelievable, right now they'll give you back 100% of what you match your employees. So if I'm an employee, not only do I want a 401k plan, I want to match, but I say, "Hey, boss, guess what? The match that you give me, if I make under $145,000 a year and I don't have any ownership, will come 100% back to you on your tax statement in year one, 75% in year two, and 50% in year three."
Wow.
Now, why does that mean 2023 is the year? Because that's what we have the tax incentive now. These tax incentives came out on December 29th, 2022 with the last government funding bill, and they could go out the same way at the end of the year. So that money is available. It's guaranteed. You got to go get it now. Now's the time to get started.
So this is exclusively for companies that don't currently have a 401k.
Don't currently have a 401k, or if you're in a group 401k plan, a multiple employer plan, and you want to exit that strategy. In that scenario, that's the golden goose. You actually get to leave, get a better product, grab tax incentives which weren't available to you when you went into the group plan. That's crazy. But yeah, you have to have a new plan document would be the technical way of looking at it.
So for I don't have a big enough company to know like this. So what's what's the word I'm looking for? The people that always look the negative, they think there's a catch. What are they going to talk about? The
cynic?
Cynic. So the cynics out here, business owner, they're like, okay, well, what's the catch? Is there anything that's why wouldn't every company do this?
Delayed gratification. You have to wait. It's a tax credit. It's not a tax deduction. It is a tax credit, but it gets applied. So, whether you distrust the government or you don't want to wait, or maybe you're operating your business in the red. So, and if you're operating in the red, the tax credit still helps you. So, that would be the negative. And then it's also just understanding, of how a 401k works. Some people imagine the 401k to work like GM's old pension, in that they're going to get sidled with all this cost forever and ever and ever. And I think that there's good education out there.
Okay.
That would be the cynic's point of view.
Dude, I love that. I mean, honestly, anyone watching, if your company currently doesn't have a 401k, I'm going to have Evan's information in the description of this video. If you're a business owner, you want to reach out to Evan, I mean, he's definitely the way to do that. Last, where I want to end this. So we just talked about, like, these are the things that you want to look for. Let's talk red flags, and we're going to end this up. What are some red flags when companies or individuals are talking to financial advisors? What are the red flags that are going to say you should run?
Account minimums. If they introduce you to a bunch of different people. Like, I introduce all my clients to my whole team, but we know what everybody's specific role is. If you're getting introduced to a lot of different people, that's a lot of overhead. So that would tell me that you need to charge me a lot to pay for all of this. And then ongoing communication. What is the plan going forward on how often we're going to meet? If you're not going to meet, if they're not going to meet you live and regularly, then that's a red flag.
Is there an account minimum number that you would say, like, just account minimums across the board, like any, or is there like, these are outrageous? Like, when they say this number, this is outrageous.
When I say account minimum,
what do you mean by that?
They go by the name of wirehouses. They're all names that you would recognize. They advertise on TV. They have, whether it's $250,000 of initial investment, $500,000 of initial investment, you have to make that initial investment in order to get the minimum services that we apply to someone who just opens up an account. I think $1,000 is our technical account, because you have to have
something in there to grow.
Yeah. But the level of service you're gonna get at $1,000 is the same as you're gonna get at 100 million with our company, because we are fiduciaries.
Wow. That's great. I mean, for one, this is helpful for me, because when we do these podcasts, you talked about taking information from people, right? It's been cool because not only do I get to hear people's different worldview about different things, I also get to hear like more about my partners, like companies and what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking through like a bunch. I know you said you don't like make tons of money on startups, but startups eventually over the course of time will help you guys out. And I'm thinking through a bunch of small startups, and I'm like, man, this is great. Yeah. Like, every one of my clients need to know about this.
Now is the time. Now is the time.
Yeah. We'll talk about off podcasts about me sending something out. Is there an employees? This is personally curious. Is there like is it like 3 employees to, like, is there a minimum amount of employees to open a 401k plan?
There's not a minimum. But if, depending on the size of your company, so that's the other thing. When I worked at Paychex, I'll try and spin this quickly. All I could sell you was a 401k. So, you got a 401k, even if there's something out there called a simple IRA, and there's also a SEP. Those are sometimes better solutions because they're more cost effective. Rather than paying for administration for a couple employees, you give up the amount you can totally put into the plan, but there's virtually no cost, or the cost is so nominal, it wouldn't even sweat a single business owner.
What about Roth 401ks?
So all of our 401k plans have Roth as part of them. It is, even if you're not Roth eligible outside the 401k, you make too much money, you can still do up to $22,500 Roth inside the 401k, which is...
That's way more than you could do on an individual basis.
Yep. And so that's why when we do like an owner only, a lot of times they're using their successful lawyer, let's say, owner only, and they're using it to stuff it full of Roth dollars.
Would there be, man, that's interesting. So let me give you, and we're going to, we have 10 minutes, so we'll wrap up. This is the advice to give people. I want to know if you agree with me. So when people ask, because I'm a life insurance guy, so we talk some about money. Generally, people that have zero retirement, so I'm talking like in their 20s, I recommend open a Roth, max out your Roth, buy term life insurance. What are the scenarios where you would not recommend a Roth, or like, generally, would you say Roth is a fair way to go unless, you're making stupid high money and you want to get the tax savings of a traditional IRA? Like, for the average person, would you say Roth is probably the way to go?
100%. Okay. Yeah. The only I didn't used to think this, but I used to like the traditional because you got the compound, you had your money in the plan, you got the government's money in your plan working for you. So people got to see their balances accelerate a little bit. Plus, you have a tax deduction, deferment of those tax dollars in the year. So you kind of got a three-prong attack, which I still like. But what you're saying is done nobody wrong. That's doing nobody a disservice at all. The other thing that with Roth and traditional, which a lot of people don't know, is the assumption in the Roth that the Roth is better than a traditional is based purely on the assumption that your taxes will be greater in retirement than they are today. If the investments are exactly the same, the deposits are the same, and taxes don't change, they're identical. It's just you're paying the taxes now versus later, which the irony is, and I don't know if it's exactly true to this day, but I know 4 years ago was the lowest. It was the end of Obama's term, was the lowest tax environment in U.S. history. Yeah. So people who were betting on the Roth, like they were actually in a lower tax situation than they had thought they were in 1980 or whatever. That's unique. I mean, whether taxes I would assume taxes have to go up. I mean, I don't
even just based on needing more money for Social Security funding, and I don't know. I just feel like it's going to have to go up.
Controversial opinion for podcast number 2.
I'm ready.
I don't think we're taxed enough. We don't pay enough in taxes to fund the things that we all want to have.
Murdered for that.
I know, but like that, like take a look around. We live in Michigan. How do you feel about the roads?
Right.
And then don't sit back and say like, oh, the government doesn't know how to spend money. I got to keep it all to myself. Those are the things that get funded through growth. You don't like the schools? Where's the money come from? You don't like your healthcare? Where's the money come from? So quite honestly.
So that's the argument, though, that then I think a lot of people would say, well, then what's the government spending our current tax dollars on?
There's an argument to be had.
That's where I would.
There's a priority argument always to be had, but no one's going to do a sidewalk. No one is ever going to say, hey, I'm gonna put a sidewalk in front of my house if you just left them to do what they want.
Sure.
So government has a role. Where that role begins and ends, there's a fair argument to be had there. But for the things
I love that.
For the things that we
we'll
need
have like
to fund,
a separate podcast where we just like grab a drink and just like start yelling about politics.
Exactly. And I'm no expert. This is my interpretation with the sociology I've grown up with
right now in Michigan. And I can understand. I mean, I could never understand myself saying that I want more taxes, but I can understand from a social aspect. I think that
what I want and what we need aren't always the same thing.
Well, no, I agree. But I also I struggle giving more money where then I should. I got to pay everything I do. But then I'm like, I know the waste that happens. So it's like,
nobody likes spending money on things that they don't prioritize either.
Sure.
So yeah, that's the rub.
It is the rub, dude. I love that. We could be on that one for another like hour. Like let's just go through that. Last thing, I want to hand me that book real quick. So as you guys know, Evan is super knowledgeable. He and his co-owner, man, I actually was going to ask you about the story about this book. Like what made you guys want to write this book?
So you go back to before LinkedIn, before marketing, we put all of our secret recipes in there. We would mail out soft cover copies to prospects trying to start a conversation. It was highly effective for a long time. We've kind of moved a little bit past it. The knowledge that we put in there is still 100% worth it. Like I said, it's our secret recipes. So any business owner could take that, read it, rip through it in one night, and know how to effectively manage a 401k and know what's in their best interest. Truthfully, most will read it and say, I don't want to do half this stuff. Can someone do it for me? And that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, I love it. This is it's about 100 pages, something like that, 140 pages.
Yep.
It's big font. I mean, yeah, you could easily get through this in a night or two. I just think it's cool because I didn't even know you wrote a book. And I went to an event that Evan was holding for us, and he just like started passing on this book. I'm like, dude, this guy's a freaking author on top of being like an amazing friend, a killer 401k owner. His team is great. His whole team is just really good people.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. Steve is also an amazing guy. So if you guys want to get this book, can they get this somehow? Is this like is this a situation where they can reach out to you and ask for a copy, or how would that work?
Yeah, our website, Michigan 401k Advisors, has the book's called Tracking Retirement. So if you find the drop down menu, Tracking Retirement, you can just type your email in and we'll send you out a copy. We do that all the time. Get through Dillon's channels, LinkedIn or email, and say, hey, I want a copy of that book. We'll put one in the mail or drop it off however you want us to get it to you.
Perfect.
If you do have a 401k, we'll also send you a little bit of research on what you currently have, because those tax filings that you do for that retirement plan every year, they're public record and I snoop in them.
I love it. Yeah. So if you have a 401k, if you're interested in reading this book, I am going to read it. I'll let you guys know. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. I just think it's great that you wrote a book. I mean, that's just like awesome.
Yeah. The first 30 pages are really like me and who we are and how we interact. Then the rest of the stuff is kind of the mechanics of a 401k. It's not subjective. There's no artistry to the back third of the book.
Simple and right to the. I love that right off the bat, fiduciary itinerary. I love that.
You got it.
So thank you guys for listening to the podcast. I think this is one of our best ones. I say this every time, but I feel like we're getting better and better at, first of all, just the knowledge that you brought. I love it.
Thank you.
And I will say this in all confidence, like Evan is the guy I recommend to 401ks with all my clients. And I would recommend you guys look him up. You guys do personal.
Yes.
So if you are just a person, you're like, I don't have a 401k, but I loved Evan.
Or you had a 401k and you want to do a rollover.
You want to do a rollover. They'll still help you out. There's a good crew of people there. I trust them. You should too. Thank you for your time, brother. And thank you guys for watching the show. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. Hit that like button, because the way YouTube works, if you don't hit the like button, it doesn't send out the video to anybody. So I think we have some content here. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Thanks so much.